That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Fairly learned here.
Welcome to Masters of the Nerdiverse Reviews. This is also known as MOTN Reviews, where we take a look at some of cinema's most shiniest supernovas and some that are not so brightly lit. This Arkham Asylum of a podcast can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Google Play. I'm, of course, your host, Mike G. And back with me, as always, from the Vatican Institute of the Criminally Insane, Tootie Odin herself.
Very accurate.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100% accurate.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, I've been waiting a full solid hour to hear your thoughts on this movie because you have been mum since you've watched it, which has been the first time tonight for yourself.
Yeah. So as you saw, based upon the title of this review, we're checking out 2019's own Joker, directed by Todd Phillips. And if you're a follower of this podcast, I got the name right? Todd Phillips?
Yes, you have his name right.
By the way, this episode's going to be explicit. Fucker.
You definitey have some sentiments.
I have
on
some
this
sentiment.
Man.
So
I get it. It's fine.
If you listen to MOTN Masters Nerdiverse, I thank you for your patronage. So you know how I feel. You know how I felt about this movie.
I do.
For the months and months and months.
This movie has been, for lack of a better word or term, it's been a joke in your eyes. This movie's a joke to you.
It's a joke. In the worst kind of joke, it's an unfunny one. I'm just kidding. This is just me being randomly vitriolic.
So
yeah, you should see.
It's a really dumb thing to say, but it's the truth. I mean, you. I know you've never taken, or you have not taken this film seriously, even when we did the review with the movie of the decade, and it was my number one, and I can tell you cringed.
You
cringed so hard.
You should see Tootie's eyes like squint with anger. You know that sound that Beatrix Kiddo makes in Kill Bill?
Man, we're not here to agree. We're here
to review the movie. So here's the thing. We start these reviews with our own kind of, I would say, initial thoughts, like just open field thoughts about the movie. So, Tootie, what were your initial thoughts of the beginning, middle, and end? Not just for the movie itself, but for its fanfare, for all the controversy around it, and where it stands now with like 11 Oscar nominations, like something crazy like that.
My God. One, the noms that he's received, or that the movie has received, and the recognition that it's received, I think it's awarded. I think it's earned, especially for Joaquin Phoenix himself. I think he made the movie. I don't know if anybody else could have pulled off the movie the way it was pulled off. It came off really dark, really awful. It was an awful movie. It really was. But I'm not sure if anybody else could have been able to pull it off the way he did. There's a cheese factor in this movie.
There's a very thin slice of cheese. Oh my gosh!
Oh, it's a thick slice of cheese. Actually, okay. If you ask me,
yeah.
and you know, there's reasons for it, and I suppose we'll get to those when we get there. But the only thing that carries and makes you forget that borderline cheese factor is there is the fact that you actually have a person who actually takes this character seriously as a human being. Like, we've never seen Joker as a human being. We've always seen him as a character, as a villain, as this crazy, maniacal, cackling
engine of chaos, pretty much.
Right, exactly. We've never seen this human side of him that never existed before a movie like this. And there's more to be said about that, which again will probably be said later because you're holding your lips as we speak. So like, there's a lot that you have to say about that.
Yeah.
So we'll get there, but this movie's definitely influential. This movie was definitely it's definitely has earned its credits. The original soundtrack is amazing. It's breathtaking. Again, Joaquin Phillips is amazing. I'm sorry, did I just call him Joaquin Phillips? Joaquin
you're
Phoenix
right.
is amazing.
You're right.
I call him Phillips.
Just blend them together.
Right. Well, you're being mean, but yes. I did. I can't say I enjoyed the movie because it wasn't a good movie. It was a horrible movie. Like, I mean, oh, it's so well done. Yes, it's well done, but the truth is, like, it doesn't end well.
You mean
There's
the
nothing
subtext
positive about the movie?
Yeah, the subtext of it is horrible.
Right, exactly. So I don't know. Maybe that's what makes the movie. It sets it apart from any other movie.
That's
that we've
something
seen,
that's fascinating. I would like to talk about for a second is how you say this is a horrible movie, and usually from someone's immediate thought process is that it's a bad movie, and I'll tell you straight up, this is not a bad movie whatsoever. This is actually an excellent movie.
Right.
This movie was in the pile, and I have a mental pile of movies that I've already decided I will never watch. It's up there with Venom and Action Jackson. And just movies that I just can't watch, right?
You haven't seen Venom?
No, I did watch Venom.
I was going to say.
protest. I watched Venom in protest.
You watched Venom ironically?
Yes, ironically.
Are you telling me that you watched Joker tonight ironically?
No, because I was actually,
good.
because I wanted to give it I wanted to kind of not double down on my feelings towards the movie, but I did want to actually see it.
So tell me, I've been waiting all this time. It's
So
been
I have
almost 90 minutes now. So.
I have to prerequisite what I feel about the film itself versus what my expectation was going into it, because that's really what steered me to the immediate negative sentiment that I had for the film, and that was the press around the movie.
Right.
Everything surrounding this movie was just kryptonite.
Right.
No pun intended.
It's a huge turnoff for a lot of people, including myself. Yeah.
For people who grew up with this character, who, been a Joker fan since 1989,
right.
When, Jack Nicholson, of course, cartoons, comics, like, comic book nerds have a pretty good idea of what they see when they see Joker. And to be told that none of that is going to be put into place in the direction of this film is both a gift and a curse, because it totally divorces itself from the source material.
Yes,
and that was
brilliantly, Mike.
I'm not going to deny not brilliantly,
but does it brilliantly. Okay, I'm sorry. Go.
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
I'm just saying.
Go.
Like it completely divorces itself from the source material to the point where even after seeing this movie, you could still call it anything else. You could have called this movie Frank or Jonathan or whatever.
You know what? You're right about that.
About someone who dresses like a clown. How many films have there been?
With the exception of the connections to Bruce Wayne,
those connections are paper thin.
They are.
They
are, and that's what I think makes it even.
But you know what?
A little bit more feathered in brilliance.
You know what?
It's the subtlety in the Gotham universe.
You know what the twist of the knife is on this movie?
Oh, I don't like the way you said that.
The twist of the knife is that due to Joker's own origin, which he doesn't have one, this film can be canon. And that bothers me the most.
Why?
Because it's coming from someone who doesn't care about the canon.
Bullshit.
That's coming from someone. He said himself he tricked Warner Brothers to make this film.
Yes.
He wanted to make his own film, and he hid it behind the shield of DC Comics and Batman.
As far as I know, and if that's really what he did, very dirty. However, that's exactly what Disney did to George Lucas. So that's a whole nother
conversation. They gave him $1 billion.
But come on.
Yeah, George Super is not happy with that deal. Anyway,
for George Lucas, I really doubt it's about the money. But anyway, again, that's
that's a whole nother can of worms. That's an MOTN After Dark right there.
I really do think. I want to think. I should put it this way, because I know we kind of all know that Joaquin Phoenix grew up on comic books. It hasn't been hidden. He's never really, he's he's a collector, he's this and that and the other. However, I don't know that much about Todd Phillips and his history with comics. I do know that both of them consciously made a decision to make it a point not to have anything to do with the comics themselves. Which I don't necessarily have a problem with specifically. Now, if they used Warner Brothers as a veil,
that's all it is a veil.
It's a veil. Then,
like I mentioned to you earlier, I said,
Mike, yeah.
I said,
I would get the anger.
I said too,
and I do understand the anger. Actually.
If I made a trailer called Spider-Man, right, under Marvel, and it was about some deranged like pet owner who kept spiders in his room and was slowly descending into madness,
I would watch it.
It does sound awesome. I'm not going to say it doesn't. But is that false advertising?
You're right, Mike. You're right. But I don't.
And at the end, and by the end of the film, he puts on a funky little costume.
I don't see it as false advertisement. I see it as
misdirection.
Another avenue to the Joker's story, and it's up to the comic book fan to accept it or not accept it.
And here's the thing, and this is how watching this we watched this movie like an hour or so ago.
Right.
I just saw it for the first time.
Right.
And I'm still in the afterglow of this movie.
I know. I'm stewing in your stew. I'm waiting for you to tell me.
Here's the thing, and this is how I'm rationalizing this film in my head. So, because it's just too damn good for me to just totally dismiss it for my own nerd biases, is that DC Comics is very big on multiverses. There's every action you make makes a splinter reality where you didn't make that action, right? So in DC Comics, there's notably 52 different universes where it's mirrored. So there's a Wild West Batman. Mm-hmm. There is a Gotham by Gaslight. And
yet they're all feasible, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So there is, and they used to call these elsewheres, is where it's just it's a story about a character that's divorced from the entire universe, and it just wants to tell its story about that particular character. And the only way I could be happy with this movie is understanding that this is indeed an elsewhere. It's a alternate reality version of the Joker.
Let me ask you this. Would you have accepted this movie more if this had started off as a graphic novel of some sort?
No, not at all. Because it's not even the movie. It's not even the movie. Like, this movie in a white room is amazing. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is not. You don't want to
associate it with Joker, period.
No, it's not.
Joker, the character.
And the thing is, it's not. I'm totally okay with associating with Joker as an Elseworld, as a alternate reality version of the Joker. My biggest problem is I didn't want to support this film due to the machinations of its director, because Joaquin wasn't saying anything. Joaquin was just kind of quiet the whole time. He just said, I did a gig. Joaquin, he's weird.
He did a gig. Yeah,
God love him.
I think we should just leave it at that when it comes to him. I don't think he didn't do it because he's a comic book fan, and which is why he was perfectly fine with them, completely ignoring the fact that those comics actually existed and that they were going to make their own, scripted,
Todd Phillips was he was so negative to the idea of calling this a comic book movie that it turned me off as a comic book fan, because you're giving me a comic book name on the cover and you're disowning where it's coming from. Do you think
he was trying to be negative, or do you think he was trying to send a message to the comic book
family
that he was trying to make sure that, he was trying to make sure that you guys treaded softly into, not you guys as in trying to alienate anybody. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe, and I just realized maybe that's what it was. Maybe he alienated an entire universe of people who maybe we're looking forward to this, because the truth is, I'm maybe 65% into comics as you are, and the only reason why I am is because 10, 12, 15 years ago you introduced me to them in the first place. Mm-hmm. You've been saturated in comics all your life, so I can't, even at the 12, 15 year mark, I can't say I'm a fan the way you are. I know what I know. I love what I know, but there's a difference between being a comic book fan and being someone who's a fan of comics. So I think
it's like the fan. This movie triggers the sweaty fanboy in me, is what it does, because of the way it was brought about and the way that
Again,
it was like presented
do you think
to.
he was trying to use it as a platform, or do you think he was trying to tread softly into a territory that he's never treaded into before?
I have an angel and a devil on my shoulder about this situation. The angel is saying, like going to your sentiment of him saying, "Hey guys, don't expect much out of comic book nerds. Don't expect me to review anything. This is our own thing,
Right.
Don't expect the Killing Joke. Don't expect these epic Joker stories we can pull from. I'm doing my own thing, and I want you to understand." That's the angel on my shoulder. The devil on my shoulder is telling me, "Hey, I'm going to write whatever the hell I want, and I'm going to put a big DC comic sticker on it, and it's going to make money simply by the name." And what did it do? It made money simply by the name.
You think so, though?
He doubled back, and he said on Twitter that the Joker would have made $1 billion if it wasn't called the Joker. And that's what set me off all over again about this guy.
What does that mean, though?
He's saying...
Does that mean he would have made more, or he would have made...
He's saying this movie would have still made the $1 billion+ if it had no affiliation with Warner Brothers, DC Comics, or the Joker, or Batman. And that's a damn lie. So if this was called... If this was called Arthur the Sad Clown, and it came out in select theaters... It would still get Oscar nominations, but there's no way this movie would have not.
You're right.
This movie would have made
There's
a fraction
it would have made
of its
that much
money
You're absolutely
if it
right
wasn't for
about
that name.
You're right. You're absolutely
What happens
right.
when you pull this up? It just says Joker in big white chalk
you're
letters.
absolutely right.
And anybody with an ancillary understanding of pop culture knows that means Batman. And you're going to get asses in seats no matter what.
Exactly.
Just like Venom.
And the truth is, that's why I wanted to watch, because the second they showed the very first trailer, or the very first trailer that showed Bruce Wayne,
it was beautiful.
I was in. I was sold. I was like, yes, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And this was before I knew all the politics behind, the Todd Phillips drama.
All that said, when it comes to the movie itself, I loved it. I absolutely 100%. I have this movie for 48 hours. I'm probably going to watch it again tonight.
Cool.
Before I fall asleep to it, because there's a lot to unpack.
Yes.
With this movie, and it's truly it reminds me of David Cronenberg's The Fly in a weird way, where you get to see, in most horror movies, the accident happens.
The slow degradation.
The slow degradation. Yeah.
I get it.
Jeff Goldblum goes into the teleport pod. Mm-hmm. Oh, something must have messed up. Those numbers don't look right. And after the course of days, he starts to change. And at first, the change is good. And he's getting healthy.
Right.
And he's getting exercise.
He's fit, and he's muscular.
He's super strong, and he's cut.
It's getting
and
weird.
He's like, I don't know. I think that the pods purged me of all my impurities.
Wow. Yeah.
This is not just a teleporter. It's a cure-all. But then he starts to slowly burn, and he starts getting a little acne here, and things start to fall off, and his voice starts to change.
Fall off.
It's out of control, right? And this movie has a similar burn in a weird way, because Arthur is troubled at the start of this movie. Arthur is he's already kind of at 50%.
Right.
And this whole movie is from 50% to 100.
All the way.
All the way. This whole movie, and and every second on the clock just ticks away at that timer.
I think we should probably get on talking about the key scenes, or a few key scenes that grabbed you. Aside from the opening scene, which is Arthur dressed as a typical clown in the middle of Gotham City, holding the spinning sign the way you would see people
in the
today.
trailer, right?
It's just
the street toughs beat him up.
He ends up getting his ass beat.
He gets jumped for no reason.
The very first 3 minutes of the movie, he just
Gotham is hell, pretty much.
You just see you literally see a sad clown. This is just like the sad clown.
It's the sad clown
cliche
trope
method of
but it also
what you do in movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the opening scene. But what grabbed you the most? What in this? If there's any scene at all that you think was probably,
I think the scene, and not to jump around too much.
I don't give a crap if you jump around. Yeah,
I know. The scene that grabbed me was the death of his fellow clown buddy and the little person in the room with him. And he wasn't cocky unhinged. He was just unhinged at that point. I think where he went to the television, when he had this final night, that's when he was full Joker.
Right.
But this was like a weird halfway point for him. And if you just want me to say one scene that just stuck with me, and just the way it was shot, the blood splatter with a straight hard line, and him on the other side of it with a white face, and his face,
the way the blood has
splattered on his
all
face,
over his face on the side, and
it reflects.
I love it.
It reflects the wall, because the wall was also pale with the stark red, and it was just a beautiful shot, just the way it was shot. That's why I'm like, I look back, and not to rag too. I don't want to make this a Todd Phillips rag fest, but I was just watching this movie. It's like, there's no way this man directed this film. There's no way. Look at his track record. There's no way this man directed a film this scientifically perfect.
So he had a DP who was just brilliant at what
he
they
must
did.
have just some godlike DP.
You know what I mean? So
because this movie is shot artistically within the edge of its life. It reminds me of like Rosemary's Baby or something.
Yeah,
like
a little bit.
How clinical,
a little bit,
like the city is. Like the city's its own.
Especially and the fact that a lot of it takes place in this tiny apartment.
Everything is closed in.
Everything's kind of just like
even
intimate.
when he's out in the
That's
open,
cool. A little bit of a
and he's
Rosemary's
closed
Baby
in.
vibe,
Yeah, like the city is closing in on him, and and it's kind of like you're sympathetic with Arthur all up until the point where you're not, and then you're still sympathetic because you know where he came from. And that's what you said, like you were talking about earlier, like
that's what I mean, and that's what I mentioned in the last episode that we did together, which was the top 10 of the decade movies or whatever. And I'm telling you, this movie really hit home because it really messed with me, like in a really personal way. Like, you sit there and you face this human human being.
Yeah, it's nothing extraordinary
sits
to
there
him.
And he has to go through these awkward moments. He literally has a laminated card explaining his sickness and his illness and his situation.
And I've seen that before in real life. Yeah,
I have too. That's a thing. That's what makes me sympathize with him. And that's what makes it so effed up, is that we're sitting there and we're this man doesn't give a shit about you. He doesn't give a shit about me. And I know I've said it before, but it's the truth.
Yeah,
he would gun us down just as easily as he did this businessman, just as easily as he did anybody else that he killed in the movie. You know what I mean? Like he ended up becoming this villain that didn't have to apologize for anything after a while, because eventually we owed him something in his eyes, and that's scary.
At the same time, there were moments where he actually showed nobility. He let the little person go. He said, but he's like,
right.
That was a moment where we were watching it. And you're like, look, he had a conscious moment.
He did. He definitely has
and
moments. And
that's what makes him different. Than
because
Joker. It would just make him a mad dog, and I think that's the whole point of this Joker.
Right.
This Joker's not he's not a dog chasing cars. This Joker, you know what I mean? He's not. I
don't think Joker is that in to begin with, to be honest. The actual
Joker likes to say he is, but Joker,
I don't think he's that. I think he's very calculated. The actual villain himself.
And this Joker is all id. He's not calculated. He's all
impulsive.
He's all impulsive.
Yes, yeah.
And part of that goes into his.
But he's a newbie. This is not something that he's been doing for years.
And years.
With being refined and stuff.
Yeah.
As the Joker that we know, who already had this career in criminal activity.
Career in criminal activity, and even
yes, we do know his origin story, but there's also a middleman.
But there's
also a beginning. So we don't really know too many of Joker's failures, except for the ones that we know about.
A famous Joker quote is like, people ask me my past, I'd rather keep it multiple choice.
Yeah, it's multiple choice, right?
So the Joker doesn't have an origin,
right?
Famously,
yeah.
And another thing that rubbed me wrong,
and he definitely makes it a fact. Yeah.
And you tell a comic book fan that we're gonna make a Joker origin movie, off the bat spits in the face of the character because he's not supposed to have an origin.
That's what he did, though.
What is this then? It's an origin movie.
Sure, it's a character study. It's an origin movie.
It's an origin movie.
Sure.
By the end of this movie,
just like
he's Joker.
whatever the fuck they did in Suicide Squad would be the same thing. Only they fucking.
Don't
you know what I mean?
Suicide Squad.
Well, come on.
In the company of this film,
You're right.
They can't be in the same
You're
house.
Absolutely right. You're right.
Like I'm just. I know I'm being I'm being the contrarian here, but I'm not gonna lie. This movie's
you're
amazing.
never that. So it's about time I get to hear this side of
I know.
you.
It's just
so you're never the one who's negative about something. But
it's just hashtag F Todd Phillips. Anyway,
I don't disagree. I don't disagree, especially if that's what you think he did to.
I hope not.
Real fans of
like
the
and I
DC
get
fandom.
There's a level of irrationality to my feeling towards this movie.
I think so.
There's a level to. I'm not gonna lie. There's a level of irrational
Yeah,
thought to this.
Yeah.
I'm the first one to admit it. But after sitting down and watching this movie, I can't deny its excellence. This movie is amazing.
It's amazing.
But it has shit all to do with the comics,
Right.
and I have to be okay with that.
You have to be okay with that.
You know
You
why?
have to.
You know why
You
it
have-
really
you don't have a
bothers me?
choice.
You know what really, 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 really bothers me? Is because as a kid, for comic book movies, they did this all the time.
Does it bother you that it made money?
No, it can make money. It bothers me to make money because that sets a bad precedent for the rest of the industry. But you would have a movie like The Punisher with Dolph Lundgren have nothing to do with Frank Castle, have nothing to do with The Punisher. You have Steel with Shaquille O'Neal, has nothing to do with Superman, has nothing to do with Jeremy Irons. I forget John Irons. I forget
And
his
those
name.
are okay, though.
Those are horrible.
Yes. They're horrible.
They're horrible.
Yeah.
They're not okay.
Okay.
Like,
But they were bad movies.
they were
though.
bad movies.
Right.
But it's the same
So
thing.
what if they were good movies? Then what?
That would be weird.
Why? So does it really make it that weird and awkward
You know
that
why it
Joker
is?
is very brilliant and yet you still have these sentiments towards it?
It's because it's hard separating source material from the product.
It's not, because we've been doing it forever. Lord of the Rings, freaking Twilight, freaking Harry Potter. There's been plenty of books and movies that have been like Game of Thrones. Is that what it's called? Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I mean, how did I fucking forget that? And I mean, all these things, they have things that you add, things that you eliminate.
But
so
that's fine. But there's a certain line you
V
draw.
for Vendetta, even.
There's a line you draw when it comes to the adding and subtracting of new data. It's the analogy of.
But he announced it, not adding or subtracting anything.
I know.
This is its own
It's just
deal.
the name. It's
the name that bothers
It's the
you.
burger wrapper.
I love it.
It's the burger wrapper.
I love it because
it's horrible. It sets a bad precedent.
If this is one of the multiple choices that we have, it's a very feasible one.
And that's the twist of the knife. It's because it can actually be real.
Right.
And that bothers the hell out of me because
why?
It's a out. It's
It's the easiest out
It's
ever that
easiest
hasn't
out.
been done.
It's an out.
But it's timely.
And it's only for this character because of the nature of this character.
Right.
You couldn't do this with any other character.
No, you can't do
because
this
of the
with
nature of the
Sandman or
character. You can't do Calendar Man. You're late.
You're late.
Dumb. But yeah, only the Joker can pull this off because he doesn't have an origin. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But you can't do this with you can't do this with Batman. And
No.
Speaking of Batman, Bruce Wayne being and it's a lot to unpack. So Bruce Wayne being a child in this film, which actually one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Mine too. Horrible,
that
cringy.
Where Arthur just shows up to the Wayne Manor and tries to make Bruce laugh. Where Bruce, and I mentioned this while you were watching, it's kind of cool that Bruce never smiles.
Right.
He never cracks. And this
Yeah.
is before his parents were
He's standing
were
there
murdered.
looking at him like he's an
Dead
idiot.
center.
Yeah.
And
Bruce doesn't crack a smile.
That's
You're
the
absolutely
slightest little nod to Batman.
Right.
Because
Holy
Batman
shit.
never laughs at Joker's
Yeah,
jokes.
no kidding.
And that irks Joker so much. That's why Joker is put a beat on Batman.
kidding.
He's the one person he can't make laugh.
Do you think that's why Arthur puts his fingers deep and
to force this, because this kid won't smile.
And he
Arthur's
forces him to smile.
And the thing is, it's like
God, that's so
Arthur
disturbing.
turns on when it comes to children. Like he automatically
Yeah.
just goes into his shtick.
Yeah, right.
And the kids laugh, right?
Yeah.
Bruce wasn't laughing at all. He was just straight.
He was trying to
stoic.
figure him out.
He was just staring at him.
And Bruce was trying to figure Arthur out just the same.
It's kind of nutty.
Good Lord.
That was a great Batman Joker moment. That was weird.
Yeah.
And Elseworldy.
It was really fucking good.
And then-
I do understand that the age difference is a little bit,
But that makes it
too
kind of
much,
cooler
but-
that
oh
young
my God,
Bruce,
I think
that
it does.
young
It's a
Bruce has
little bit
always
more
had that
chilling.
in him.
Yeah.
That he's just not having
I
it.
agree.
He's just not having it.
Yeah, it's
And then Alfred question mark shows
Yes,
up.
more than likely, of course.
Because they
Alfred was around when Bruce was
100%.
10, and that boy looks
Yeah.
like he was at least 12 or 13.
100%.
So.
That like guy
And that's not even an age thing that I actually know for a fact. I'm just
Cockney
saying.
British accent shows up to the gate. Hey, what are
Right.
you doing?
Right.
He would be the one to find Bruce. It would be Alfred.
Assuming it's
Right.
Alfred, but it's Alfred.
It's a butler dude. Well, maybe a butler dude. We don't know. He wasn't dressed like an old timey butler. I'm just gonna say it's Alfred. I don't care.
We'll call him Fred for short, just in case.
Until Todd calls me and tells me it's not Alfred and just destroys all my hope
He's
and love.
not calling you.
He knows it's on sight when he sees
mad
me.
at him.
Yeah, man. I'm mad at you. Wonderful actress, Zazie Beetz.
She's great.
She's great, right?
amazing,
Good
yes.
stuff. Was in this film. Was she real?
Yes.
Was she a figment? Because there's an unspoken thing about this movie too, where things happen that don't happen, and you could see him imagining things happening.
She's definitely in the movie.
Oh, I mean, but is she a figment of his imagination?
At the same time,
goading
yes.
him the whole time.
Yes. I think so.
I think so.
I don't. Here, let me tell you something. There's two scenes in this movie. There's one in the beginning where Arthur is dressed in all white and he's banging his head against the glass of an insane asylum in a cell. And there's a scene at the end where he's dressed all in white and he's talking to his therapist. Now, I think both scenes
happen around the same time.
Are happening at the same time.
And it's just him
Yes.
time
and
jumping.
everything that happens in between those two scenes, all the shit that's sandwiched is all in his head.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, it's not like that's like the biggest theory ever of whatever, but like, I really do feel like those two scenes
on a percentage
are very
wise,
much tying into
percentage
each other.
wise, how much of this movie is real?
I would real as in like
actually
movie
happened.
real.
Like
20%.
Happened in the
Actually happened in the movie. About
So
20 to
80% of it.
25% of it.
80% of it was in his head.
I think so. Yes.
So
I think so.
I think-
The scene where he's in the theater and he actually meets up with Thomas Wayne. Come on,
That's
that's
super
not-
fake.
That's bullshit. Yeah,
I would even say the scene where he kills Robert De Niro is fake.
I agree too. I don't think that's
ever
real
happened.
either.
I don't think
that
the riot
happens.
happened. I
No.
don't think any of that happened.
I don't think any of it happens.
I think that was in his head while he
Yeah.
was in the insane asylum.
I think all of it is in his head. Yeah.
And only. Do you think the death of his mother was real?
I think she's dead. I don't think he killed her.
Yeah.
I think she died and he couldn't handle her death, and maybe the only way he can handle it is by taking her out himself.
Yeah.
Arthur obviously is out of control, and he needs control of some things. And the only way a crazy person or person with mental disabilities can gain control is by gaining the control themselves.
Yeah, and factual and kind of
Factual
manufacturing
reality, yes.
their reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you kind of talk about control and the things that kind of control his sedation, so to speak. All of his control points for his sedation are taken away from him in this movie. His job, his first job,
Right.
is taken away from him.
Right. His first 2 or 3 jobs, actually, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely, where he brings a gun to the children's
Yeah.
hospital,
Yeah.
and the gun drops like nonchalantly. He just picks it up and just stops. Like,
and he
like
tells the kids, shh.
he goes, shh, and the kid does it back. Yeah, you're
Oh my
fired. His therapist, who just could care less. I don't know. Maybe she cared. I don't know. She did seem kind of bummed out that they lost their funding, but even she was just so dry.
It was
with
really
him.
is she bummed out because I mean she's fired, she's about to get laid off. So I mean, if you ask me, that's why she's bummed out. She doesn't give a shit about Arthur. That's why
Right.
Arthur doesn't give a shit about her. He's sitting there talking to her, telling her, "You don't get it. You don't get it, do you?
Yeah, you don't care. Like
you don't give a shit.
You don't give a
and
shit.
he's not wrong. That's what she's giving him.
Yep.
She doesn't care. Like she doesn't. You know. What I mean?
It almost seems like this is the first time he's getting that she doesn't care.
No, I didn't get that. You might be right, but I didn't get that from him. I kind of got like he's just been over it, and he's over it.
I think like the shift in his personality after the night where he just he first took his first life, if that was real, right? Because him killing the three.
Well, I suppose that's debatable, isn't it? That he could have done that.
Yeah, but after that, there was a stark shift in his personality,
right?
And I think that was due to him no longer getting his medication.
Oh,
the second he stops getting his medication,
no shit, huh?
Shortly after,
and he even announces it to his friend.
Yeah, he's like, hey,
when he walks into
his house,
when he visits him.
Yeah, I've been off my medication. I feel
passing,
great.
Yes.
And I mentioned if anyone ever tells you that, you just leave.
And he's like, I feel really good, actually. Yeah,
no, get out.
Yeah,
that's a horrible
right. And then
start. Seconds later, he pretty much pulls out like a fillet knife,
tiny blade, a fillet knife.
God, where did he get that? Right, that's what makes me think it's not real.
You know what? And
where did he get that?
The stabbings. He basically stabs his friend Randall, and the stabbings are so precise. He stabs him in the neck, and then right in the eyeball.
Then he crushes his brain,
and then he smashes his head against the wall, and it just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
not one human being in that room is expecting it, and I assume Arthur himself doesn't expect that he's going to do it. It's really intense, a really insane moment.
Is it the taste of blood he got from quote unquote killing those three guys? Because he did
No, I think he's just over shitty people. Because the truth is, this person that he ends up killing happens to be the same person who threw him under the bus, the same person who gave him the gun that got him fired from the Children's Hospital gig. Is the person who ratted him out for having the gun in the first place. So I think Arthur took that and knew that was going to be the anger that was going to stew in him. So while this person, Randall, shows up to his house, hey man, I know your mom died, let's drink. Arthur still knows underneath his breath that you're the one who betrayed me. You're the reason why I'm a loser. You're the reason why I don't have my job anymore. And I think he takes that with him.
And it goes back to the subway scene where it feels like a self-defense at first.
Of course. It's all everybody's piece of shit.
But then it goes further because he chases the guy down.
Ooh,
and he's systematic, and he hunts him.
Yeah.
There's a level where he starts hunting this guy.
But what more can he do? He's going to get caught if he doesn't.
He got caught anyway.
Finish the job or whatever the hell.
He never technically got caught. He turned himself in technically. Arthur did.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, he literally systematically hunts this guy.
I forgot about that part.
He runs up on him.
He runs up on him.
That's what I'm saying.
He literally has his hand
on the gun.
Just stretched
straight
forward.
And he empties the clip on the guy.
Yeah, he does.
And then he has a moment where he snaps back out of it and he just runs. But the chase down is the more disturbing moment of that. Because he didn't have to do that.
No, he didn't. It wasn't even a chase down at first. He was hiding.
He was hiding. He was waiting for the guy to duck back out so he can get him.
Yeah, that's fucking
jacked.
chilling as a
motherfucker.
That's wrecked.
Yeah.
No shit.
And then that goes back to.
Yeah, it's a lot. That scene was a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Hands down. That was a lot to take in.
Let's take a second to talk about his mom and that whole side kind of storyline where his doting, unhealthy mother, who may or may not have been the orchestrator of his pain. You know what I mean? Like how she seems like this unassuming, like stereotypical, my mom is sick, I need to take care of her. This is a baby.
Right.
This is another strain on my life.
Right, a little sweetheart
but then
type,
she starts to unravel a bit as the film goes on. Kind of like, and I'm making this movie reminds me a lot of things. Like this almost reminds me like Audition, where,
she's cooped up. She's just cooped up, kind of oblivious. Hidden. Yeah.
But she has this undercurrent to her own self that you're not seeing until Arthur starts really reading her notes and seeing the history of why she keeps reaching, why she's so doting on Thomas Wayne, why she's so enamored with Thomas Wayne is because she's had a unhealthy, according to Thomas Wayne, mind you, because we don't know what's real, right? At this point, she's had this unhealthy.
Why does she still have the letters? Why were they not sent to Thomas Wayne?
Why? Or were they, and these are just a new batch of letters? It could be a Shining thing where it's, Jack, all work and no play over 500 reams of paper.
Make Homer something.
Yeah, make Homer something. I don't know. The Joker.
Right.
Don't mind if I do. But this could be like the 5th set that she's mailed out to him, or nothing's been mailed out. We're not given that information. But all you see is her pleading to him to get to know her son. And it's the revelation that, according to his mother, that Arthur Fleck is the illegitimate son of Thomas Wayne, making him the brother of Bruce Wayne, Batman, which is a weird, another elseworldy kind of thought to throw out there.
How old do you think Arthur is?
Probably, pain ages you.
It does.
Pain.
So does depression, yes.
Depression, stress ages you.
I'm going to say he's like 32.
Maybe, I was going to say like late 30s, mid 40s. Because he's so small,
you think
too.
that old in his 40s?
I'm thinking like his 40s. Because all the age in his face.
Yeah, well.
His eyes are sinking in, you know what I mean? Yeah. His fingers are starting to kind of get they're going to get that. Skeleton
thing going, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe mid to late 30s, maybe early 40s. Given his mom's age, where she's like 70, 80.
Right, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
And like we were mentioning earlier, the opera scene, or the Charlie Chaplin scene, where they go to the theater and he confronts Thomas Wayne, who pretty much acts like a complete asshole, which I think it's neat too, because I hate comics that always depict the Waynes as these pristine guardians of Gotham that were slain indiscriminately. And I like the idea that the Waynes were actually closet assholes. And there's even some storylines where the Waynes were actually in bed with the Carmine Falcone mafia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a mafia hit, and Bruce was too young to understand it.
Shit.
There's a pretty interesting storyline with that. So it's kind of neat, but
you're gonna have to show me that one.
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Yeah, that's.
And Bruce
cool.
got all.
I knew it though. I knew there had to be something.
Yeah,
there had to be something.
No,
I knew he was.
Joe Chill was an assassin, something like that.
Beautiful.
But,
oh my god.
But yeah, Arthur goes in, has the most real moment he has in the film, where he just breaks down like, I don't want your money, I just want some kind of warmth or something, Dad. And there's another revelation that Thomas Wayne tells Arthur that Arthur's adopted, and she adopted him when she was still on the grounds, and that's not your real mom. And Arthur is like, Dorothy Mantooth is a saint. Yeah. How dare you badmouth my mother? Yeah. How dare you? I'm trying to be civil. What's wrong with you people?
And then he starts going into a laughing fit.
Then he goes into his anxiety-ridden laughing fit, which is probably some of the best acting I've seen ever.
It's really just the saddest, most disturbing thing you can see.
It's the most painful.
If you saw it in real life, I imagine it looked a lot like the way it looked on screen. And
like, can you imagine
it's the
being
most
like
awkward, most painful thing you can ever see?
Can you imagine being like a grip on that set and having to watch Hakeem like that might jack you up. Like there's scenes. There's a scene in the he steals a document from Arkham about his mom because he needed to know the truth. Right. And he decks
he steals
down
her entire.
He steals her file. Yeah. He steals her whole her rap sheet, and he goes into the stairway and starts reading it on the spot. And you start getting these little intimate interviews with young mom being interviewed about her kid and how she was abusing him. Yeah. And she was like, no, I'm not. You just need to go to sleep. That kind of crazy stuff. And Arthur can't cry. He was crying, but his illness kicked in. So he was crying and laughing at the same time. Yeah. And it was the most like trance inducing moment, because it's just you're sucked all the way in at that point. It's like, damn, man, that looks painful to act. Yeah. Not to mention where your head has to be at to get yourself to do that.
My God, yeah.
So give all this guy all the Oscars. He deserves them for this film, because it's kind of nutty.
It's a nutty film, Mike. Let's
talk about Robert De Niro. His character, he's kind of the Deus Ex Machina of this. He's the MacGuffin. He's the MacGuffin. He's the unobtainable object. He's the emphasis of Arthur's joy and pain. He's kind of the author of it, even though he's done nothing. He's the focus that Arthur has put on himself.
Right.
He's the reflection.
He's the unattainable goal.
He's the unattainable goal.
For some strange reason.
Because Arthur wants to be a comedian.
Right.
But then we find out.
It's not even, it's an unhealthy goal.
You know, the moment this movie sold me and I stopped being a salty fanboy and it was actually just sucked into it is the scene where he goes to the amateur hour to do a stand-up and he can't even talk.
Yeah.
Because he's so nervous. He just starts laughing and
he just goes into his tick.
And it's so sad because it's just dead quiet. And that's the moment where I'm thinking, like, he will never be able to obtain his goal. Ever, just based on his illness.
Right.
He will never be able to be a comedian. Because of his illness.
He could barely function
He could barely function in society.
Yeah.
On a stage full of people. He just cracks and starts laughing. And he's he's trying to talk his way through his jokes, which are bad, of course. But it's like...
they're bad because they're so innocent and he's so naive.
He's so naive.
He's so like, it's heartbreaking. It really is.
That's the part that kind of grabbed me. Like, this dude is not ever going to get what he wants. And that's tough. And then, go to the climax, segue that to the climax of the film where he's telling the Robert De Niro character his new set of jokes. Knock, knock. Who's there? It's the ambulance. Your kid was hit by a stray car and he's dead. Everybody's like, what?
Yeah,
and
that's not even a fucking joke.
But that's his new view on it's a joke to him because he's realized that life is a comedy and not a tragedy. So that's his
God. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's funny to him.
And it's insane because those jokes have been made before.
Yeah,
like in real life. And it's like, wait, why is that funny? And
a dog, guy walks into a bar, ouch. Right?
Well, that one's hilarious.
I created that joke.
I love a guy walks into a bar. Ouch.
I made that up.
No, you did not.
I did.
Chill out, Carlos Mencia.
Circa 1995. I was the young one. But anyway, stupid Carlos. Carlos Mencia. But yeah, like you segue all the way to the final kind of confrontation with Robert De Niro, which I'm just saying is in his head. That never happened. I agree. I don't think I really. Now that I was able to see it again with you, which would probably be, I guess, my third time seeing the movie. Was watching it tonight with you, but watching it again, I definitely can sit here and tell you that all of that was in his head. But who am I to say? Who are we to say?
Like, who are we to really say?
I mean, the Bugs Bunny.
I really do think that it was definitely
the beep 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 beep. That's all, folks. Ending where
exactly.
It's pretty much
Mike. Like the whole thing was just.
It's a fever dream.
Here's the thing, dude. The scene itself, especially, unfortunately, and I don't want to get too dark and too real, but in this day and age, something like that is feasible.
I mean, it's happening. Watching
live
executions.
Live executions are happening. So
remember when we were at your house and we saw the
Nick Berg? Yes.
We saw the beheading
of Nick Berg. Yes.
Of Nick Berg.
Yes.
Like, on your PC.
I remember.
And it was real, and we were like,
the only reason why I was able to bring it up immediately is because it traumatized me.
Yeah,
and
I would never forget.
Have nightmares of it today.
I think it was me, you, and your sister. We're watching it,
and it was because it was such a big news story.
It was everywhere. It was uncensored.
It was uncensored, yeah,
out of control.
And they took it out almost
eventually.
Immediately.
Yeah,
but
we were able to find it on an afternoon.
It was just So I mean, it's just
this could happen. I mean, this nature of attack, the riots in the streets may be a little dramatic, but then again, look at the Rodney King riots,
Right. I mean, the
some of its parts, are possible. The
live assassination of Robert De Niro's character, who's Murray Franklin, I think is his name in the movie. I think the assassination of that character, wasn't real. But if it was, I think the thing that makes it the most disturbing is that it's feasible. It's something that
can happen.
We could have seen done in 1981, or whatever year it was supposed to be, and I think it was supposed to be early 80s. It's something, unfortunately, that we can even darker can see today, and you know what got me about that scene? It wasn't necessarily the shooting, because the shooting of Murray Franklin, or Franklin Murray, I don't know, it's whatever it is.
Yeah.
That character's assassination was cinematic. It was just movie shit. It was the screams afterward.
Yeah.
That
jacked you up?
Jacked me
the
up. The
quiet screams?
No, the screams of the people after the
No,
shooting.
there was no music to it. It was just them.
It was just
the studio audience.
There was Arthur Fleck sitting there.
Smiling.
Just sitting there, agitated for the next 6 to 10 seconds. His knees twitching back and forth, sitting there, not knowing what to do, not knowing whether to move, not knowing whether to do, to leave, run, shoot him again, sit there. He ends up just sitting there like he does. He just makes a decision to just sit there with his knees twitching back and forth. And then eventually, yes, he takes a deep breath and he smiles.
Yeah. And then he pumps another clip into him. He pumps another shot into him.
He ends up standing up.
Then he has the most Joker move in the movie.
Shooting again.
Joker moment of the movie where he goes and grabs the camera and starts laughing into it.
Yeah.
Before they tackle him
right.
and apprehend him.
1980s, mind you.
This takes place in 1981.
Right. This isn't now. This is supposed to be in the 1980s. So can you imagine watching Small Wonder or Jeopardy or something, that, we used to watch back then that was just all of a sudden taken over. Johnny Carson. I mean, that's who he was, right?
Yeah, he was supposed to be like
the Johnny Carson
show. Yeah.
So, I mean.
It's kind of nutty,
it's
man.
Just. That was a very disturbing, insane scene. And there's plenty of others like it or similar to it, I suppose, in the film. But that one was just, yikes.
Now, we've both said our piece about this film. Mostly bad on my part, but then some good things, I will admit. Mostly good on your part, but then some bad things, you'll admit. In a nutshell, what would you rate this movie? From 0 flex to 5. How many flex would you give this movie?
0 to 5. Only 5?
Wow.
I'm probably going to have to give the movie. I'm going to give the movie a solid high 4. I don't find any flaws in the film itself. If I'm being honest, there's maybe a couple of like tiny indiscrepancies that, like, if I want to be a total nerd about it, which I suppose I could on a podcast like this, I could, but I don't see a point when I'm mainly here to celebrate cinema and celebrate the brilliance in the movie that's been made, and exactly indiscriminately. And this has definitely been one of those films, and I appreciate that I get the time to bring maybe not so different, because again,
not so different.
We're friends, so there's a lot of things we have in common, but at least I appreciate that I get to bring maybe a different
vibe,
opinion
to 100%.
this universe.
This cinematic.
But yeah, I would say a solid 4 for me.
You'll be surprised with all my anger towards this movie and all my anger towards its origins and all that stuff. It's no guesswork. It's a 5 for me.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's a damn perfect movie.
Are you fucking kidding me? You've never given anything a 5 ever.
It's perfect.
It's fucking
because
perfect.
Its imperfections feed its perfections because of the nature of the character. It's the things that don't make sense because it's what do they call it? The faulty narrator. I think it's
right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So everything is seen through Fleck's vision, through his cone of reality,
right? And
it's twisted because he's twisted. Things don't add up because he doesn't add up.
Okay.
So any mistakes this movie has could be attributed to the
You're absolutely
nature
right about that.
of the narrator.
Right. You're right.
You know what I mean? So it cleans itself up. That's why I'm saying there's no way Todd Phillips directed this, because this is like Goodfellas level good.
So was there a ghost director for this film?
I'm not going to say that because that's just flat out slander, and I don't want the Nerdiverse coming at me. But I will say that this is probably this man's best work ever.
Oh,
and this probably will be his best work ever.
Hands down. Hands down. Yes.
And as a comic book fan, I'm not too hot on where it came from. I'm not too hot on where it's and how it started. But like you said, this is a movie review podcast, and this is not just about comic books. This is about film and about the celebration of film the shiniest supernovas, and this is films a red dwarf. It's pretty much
Right.
it's every it
It's a good
sucked
one.
me in the second I let it the second I let it suck me in. I was just in,
I love it.
And
I'm so happy.
and I didn't pull out to the very end. That sounds horrible. Anyway,
That's what she said.
that's what she said. That's what he said, rather. Jesus. Ow, explicit. But this damn movie is one of those films that I would have regretted. It's fine. We all cough. It's all life. Not gonna hurt you. Not gonna hurt you.
Not gonna hurt you.
Not gonna hurt you.
Sorry.
No, I just wanted this damn movie. I would have regretted if I never saw it. I would have seriously regretted if I let my comic book nerd ego keep me from seeing this movie, because in a white room, this is the best Elseworld DC Comics movie next to like Road to Perdition.
That's beautiful. I'm so happy that you said that, and I'm so happy that you said it that way.
Yeah.
I really am.
100%.
And I can't believe you just mentioned Road to Perdition.
Yes, if people
I
don't
really
know.
like.
That's
People
a comic book
don't
movie.
know. I
That's a
can't
comic book
believe
movie.
you just mentioned Road to Perdition.
It's one of the best.
You
comic
are
book
so amazing. Oh
one
my
of the
god,
best comic book movies of all time.
is, and nobody knows that. Why does nobody know that?
Because it's underplayed.
Yes, Road to Perdition is one of my. It's actually one of my favorite.
I'm kind of
films.
fitting this movie in my brain where that lives.
I can't believe
You know what I'm
just said
saying?
that.
Where it's
We
like,
didn't even discuss this, and I can't believe it just blew my mind right now. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that, you asshole. Oh my god!
I'm just
don't
saying,
do that.
if I can put this on the
That's so
same
cool.
shelf as that,
That's beautiful.
then
I'm so happy you did that,
I'm
because
happy.
Road to Perdition is an
a
underappreciated
super
movie.
underappreciated movie in
Way
general.
underappreciated in
Not,
general.
not
Yes.
just to mention, it's a comic.
Right.
It's a comic book
Yes.
movie.
Yes.
in its origins.
Yeah, and
You
the
know?
thing is, and ironically, Joker's not a comic book movie. It's not.
No, it's
Road
not.
to Perdition, comic book movie. Joker, not a comic book movie.
But-
one gets the recognition as one does not get the
Because
recognition
one
as one.
is called Road to
Both
Perdition and one
brilliant.
is called Joker.
You're right.
And
Okay,
that's-
so now you're absolutely right. I absolutely see your point.
Yeah.
It has come full circle. You're absolutely right. I really hope that's not what happened. But I wouldn't be surprised. It's Hollywood. It's marketing. But you know what I mean? Like, I
I get it.
I
see where I'm
know.
coming
I
from
know
now,
you
though?
get it. And I just...
But do you see?
And
where,
I get it. I get it.
like you see where I'm coming from now,
I
right?
do. I get it. Yeah.
And that was my
You're
whole
absolutely
point.
right.
Think of those two movies.
You're right.
Right?
You
How much do you think Road to Perdition made in the box office?
Oh gosh, I couldn't even tell you, because I know for a fact I didn't see it in the theater.
Okay.
Oh wait, did I see it in the theater? I may have. I think I may have seen Road to
Okay.
Perdition in the theater.
Road
if
to
I'm being
Perdition is a
honest.
bad movie, right? A bad name. A bad name. Like I just said, it's Road to Perdition is a 5 out of 5 for me.
It's not Joker.
But okay,
Let's put it that way. It's not called Joker.
that's what I'm saying. Like you mix some things around, right?
Yeah.
Road to Perdition can become Dick Tracy so fast. Road to Perdition
Right.
can become The Shadow so fast.
And then it excuse me, and then it makes you wonder why it kind of was not.
because I
to be
think it was
honest, but-
because of its sort. They honored the source material, named it after. I think it was named after the actual book, Road to Perdition.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So that's kind of where my head was at with this film, and where it lives now. And that's why I give it a 5 out of 5. I don't even think I've given anything a 5 out of 5.
I think
I
maybe
don't-
once before. Or
Maybe
something,
once
but-
before,
Yeah,
but
that's very.
This
it
film-
doesn't even have a 5 out of 5 for me, and that's only because I never even thought about like the inconsistencies being part of Arthur's
feeding the consistencies.
narration.
So it's a snake eating its own tail in a perfect little
interesting.
symmetry.
Yeah,
Man,
it really is. It's a brilliant movie, and I think I've been like writing you about it like for like months now because
and I've been coy because
and I've just
because
and you
I
won't-
needed to see it because I would have went to my grave calling Todd Phillips a hack and this movie was a cash grab, and I would have kept those feelings. But now after watching the movie, I'm not gonna lie, they're still there. I'm not, especially with him coming out now saying. Anyway, I'm not going to go back too deep into that. It just upset me more. But I will say that outside of the director working against himself, outside of the controversy working against this film, it overcame. People went to go see this. It made $1 billion. And now I see why, because this movie is...
So I have a question before we wrap it up, because I feel like we're wrapping.
Yeah, we're ramping down.
if all of this was actually in Arthur's head, as we have been discussing in theory,
Yeah.
did Thomas Wayne, did the Wayne family actually lose what they lost when they lost? Did Joe Chill
That
actually
is the biggest question.
kill them? Did that really happen?
In theory, if the riot was in Arthur's head, then the death of the Waynes was also in Arthur's head.
It would have to be, right?
Because of his vendetta against Thomas Wayne. It's all a big joke, right? When Joker was telling his final joke, what did he see? He saw Bruce standing with his dead parents.
Right.
And then he said, no.
Yes.
And then
that
he
was
said,
one of the final flashbacks.
that was the
yes.
final flashbacks of the film, where he was saying, I'm thinking of a joke in my head. And she was like, what joke? And then it shined to something he would have never been able to see. He wouldn't have saw the Waynes
No way.
die.
He didn't know.
Right? He was all across the
Yeah,
town.
he would have never known.
There's no way he would have known that the Waynes died.
Then you're
Unless
right.
it was on the news or something. But he wouldn't have had that intimate shot of
way.
Bruce standing there with the. So it makes that alone
Unless
makes me
he was
think.
under the clown mask.
So that alone makes me think that even Batman
Was he
is
under
a
the clown
figment.
mask?
Who? Joe Chill? Yeah,
Arthur.
Arthur was wearing his makeup, but he wasn't wearing a clown mask.
He was wearing a clown mask at one point.
Then he took it off. I think at the
He
that,
did.
That
He took
final
it off
scene,
and he threw it away, I think, or something.
He
like
threw it
that.
away in the subway, but that was a scene earlier. His makeup got smashed up because he got hit by the car, and then he used his blood to redo his smile. That's where that scene left off, and everybody else was wearing masks,
Okay.
including Joe Chill.
Yes. So
You know.
then the excuse me. So the Joe Chill scene happened after the Arthur on top of the cop car scene.
No, that happened at the same time. They're happening at the same time. Remember we were watching it and it showed Zorro the Gay Blade, and I was like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
the Waynes are about to die."
Yes.
And you were like, "Yeah, I know," but I was like, "No, that's a dead giveaway."
Yeah.
That's the film that they see before they die. It's always Zorro, which is why Batman wore black, but because he was inspired by Zorro. But in theory, then Batman is a figment of Arthur's imagination. In theory,
Which would make this movie absolutely obsolete to the DC world.
which is why it's an Elseworld,
Which is okay.
which is fine.
Okay then.
Because there's a million realities where Joker is a woman. There's realities where Joker. There's a really cool.
That's hot.
No, it's a really cool story where, except for the Waynes dying, Bruce dies that night. Joe Chill kills Bruce.
Oh shit!
And
Holy balls!
The moment makes Martha go insane, and she becomes the Joker, and Thomas becomes Batman.
Holy shit! Okay.
Yeah, it's called Flashpoint, where Thomas Wayne is actually Batman, and Martha Wayne is that universe's Joker because she lost her mind when her kid was killed, and she just saw it.
I love it.
She snapped.
I love
Gotta
it.
read it. It's amazing.
You're gonna have to probably
show you that.
get me in on that one.
Yeah, but anywho,
that's amazing. That's mother shit. I like that shit.
Yeah,
So
she was
anyway,
crazy scene. But
you
that
have
being
any like tidbits, info, anything?
that's it. You kind of drained me.
Yeah,
This movie is draining. This movie is emotionally draining.
it was great. It was a great movie. He lost 52 pounds for this movie, by the way.
52 pounds. She wrote it
He
down.
lost 52 pounds.
I wish I could lose 52 pounds. Nervous.
That's amazing.
Just for the
And the
role.
truth is, I think I actually heard that him losing that amount of weight so fast fucked with him mentally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I assume that a lot of, like, there's a theory, right? Another theory. So we talk about, there's another one going around that anybody who plays this character takes a
cursed?
little bit of,
It takes a
kind
toll?
of curse. It takes a toll on you. It takes a little bit of your sanity with you, which is just insane to me, which is just, that's interesting to have to be heavily into somebody who's that dark. Like, the thing I think that takes that toll on people is nobody's supposed to be that way.
Because it's
so
not.
when you're a
Because
normal
Joker,
human being and you're playing something like that, I bet it does take a lot out of you.
as larger than life than Batman is, the Joker is just as larger than life.
God,
Because he's such a
yes.
separation of
Bullshit.
reality.
I think Joker is much bigger
As
in
a
life
character,
than Batman. He's always
such a separation
in
of
one way, shape, or form. The Joker has always been a step ahead of Batman, and yet 2 steps behind at the same time.
Yeah.
Somehow,
I love this damn character.
Joker's the shit. He's. aside from this movie, he's a great character. He's
This-
probably one of my favorite
This movie's the
favorite
shit. And
characters of anything, of pop culture, of culture in
And
general. So
this movie's made a believer out of me.
same.
5 out of 5.
Yay.
Where can we find you, Tootie?
You can find me at Tootie O My Hero. That's at Tootie O My Hero on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. I'm there. I'm here. I'm everywhere. Working on some things. Working on some stuff and things. Coral. And yeah, that's it. I'm really happy that I was able to do this with you today.
We're instituting the Tootie Everywhere system.
Everywhere.
Where we
She's
get
everywhere.
Where we get actors to just be around
Postmates
LA.
me.
Postmates Tootie.
Cameo me
She needs the substance, Doug.
and DoorDash
She will give her
I
Uber
will-
Eats.
dash to your door.
She'll dash at you and give you jokes, and then leave
I
quickly.
will roast you.
She will roast you. And
I
then,
will roast you.
and then leave as quickly as she came.
Bye.
Bye. And if you want more of this beautiful content, beautiful baby. That's a stupid Brad Dourif. You ever seen Alien Resurrection?
Yeah.
Remember when the stupid weird baby newborn alien bites Brad Dourif's brain like an apple?
You're talking about the TV show Alien Resurrection?
No, the movie.
No.
Written by Joss Whedon of Avengers fame.
No, but I know.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon wrote Alien Resurrection.
Isn't he Buffy? He's Buffy
Yeah,
guy.
he's Buffy guy.
Yeah.
And he's Avengers guy. And he's Firefly
He's
guy.
Avengers guy?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he directed
I should have known
Avengers.
that. I should have known that.
Yeah, just watch Alien Resurrection. Because Ripley plays basketball with Ron Perlman.
Am I not thinking about Alien Resurrection? What's the show where the aliens had big ass heads, but they had like bald spots? Like,
Oh, you're talking about Alien Nation.
oh my god, that show was so amazing.
Yeah, Alien Nation was dope.
Yeah, Alien Nation was the shit.
Reboot Alien Nation. If you want to send us Alien Nation merch, you can send that to our Patreon at patreon.com/MOTN, where if you give us money, we'll feed it into the internet and make our podcast strong. But if you wanted to support us non-monetarily, you can always like our content. You can always subscribe to our channels. You can always comment on our information, on our episodes. That can be done on YouTube. That can be done on Twitter at MNerdiverse. Follow us and help us get to 2,000 followers before the end of the decade. It just started, I know, but we're optimistic. Once again, I would like to thank Tootie for joining me on this episode.
Yay, it was fun. Thank you. It was good.
You guys don't know how close to that Tootie came to just making me go off on this podcast, right? You'll never know. You'll never know.
This was a heated debate, man. This was heated. But, you know,
Not in a good way, a very healthy way.
it was healthy.
It was almost therapeutic.
I'm really happy that you
all the anger that I had is kind of gone now.
I'm happy
As long as this idiot doesn't
Right,
say
well,
anything else,
to watch.
just tell Todd Phillips to go to sleep, and I'll be
Shut
fine.
up, Todd Phillips.
Go to sleep.
You're gonna ruin it.
Don't ruin it. And if this is your first time listening to our podcast, I would like to be the first to say thank you and to welcome you to the Nerdiverse. I've of course been your host, Mike G. And I will always ask you to look towards the skies. Look towards the skis. As an added bonus, this cosmic ballet. Finish it, Tootie?
Goes on.
Yeah.